Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our Friday weekly lunch and learn. Every Friday at noon, Sierra Club Iowa chapter goes live to give you an environmental update. And today we are going to talk about the legislative session and two bills in particular that are really important to us. And we want to make sure everyone understands what they are, what they do, and why we care. So we're going to talk about community solar, the Local Generation Act, and there's two versions of the bill. HSB 629 and SSB 3092. We're also joined by a local expert, Patrick Pasold, who knows so much about community solar. So I'm going to give you some of the just specific overview details and then tell you what the bill does and what we can do. And then we're going to let him fill in the details and tell you kind of what is good to say to the legislators. So with that, I am going to get started here. So what is community solar? What is this whole concept? I'll tell you a little bit, and then Patrick will tell us a little bit more later, but it allows locally sited small scale energy solar farms. Some folks can't install solar on their properties, but they can become a subscriber to a community solar project. They're not then a full owner, they just subscribe and participate in receiving the electricity generated by the solar farm and other benefits of renewable energy. So that's the basic concept.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Could you please share your screen?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I have not. I thought I had my screen shared. So here we go. It allows locally sited small scale energy projects on solar farms. And some folks can't install these on their roofs, so they have to subscribe. And so basically that's what the concept of community solar is, you can participate even if you can't put the infrastructure on your property. There are two bills addressing this. House Study Bill 629 and Senate Study Bill 3092. The specifics of these bills are that they help farmers and rural landowners increase and diversify income from their properties. These landowners are going to be able to use solar farming practices like livestock grazing or growing forage or farm to market crops on their parcels. It provides reasonable, clear rules that lay out subscriber participation and how that all works. It makes larger community solar projects possible on brownfield sites. So if there's some land that is unable to have, any cash flow, this is a way that you can have cash flow on that property. RECs or rural electric cooperatives can authorize these community solar projects in their service areas, but RECs can also opt out of participation in Iowa's community solar program. So this is a really good alternative to large scale solar projects, and it's going to benefit local communities and the people and the environment in those communities. So I'm going to tell you how to take action on these bills, and we'll tell you again at the end. But let me tell you this, and then we'll switch over to Patrick. So these two bills just this week have passed out of their respective subcommittees in either the House or the Senate. So they're both kind of moving at the same time. And both of them are then ready for a full Commerce Committee vote in both chambers. Contact the House and Senate Commerce Committee members. We want to ask them to vote yes on either House Study Bill 629 or Senate Study Bill 3092. For House, ask them for the House Study Bill. For Senate, ask them for the Senate Study Bill. You can also attend the legislative forums that are happening tomorrow all across the state because it's good to send emails. We should send lots of emails. Sometimes showing up in person and actually talking to them is a really good way to make sure your message is heard. And then the other thing is we're going to be up at the Capitol on Wednesday next week, so February 11th. We're meeting at 8:30 in room 305, and we're going to be talking about these bills and other bills as well. So last couple things. These are the Commerce Committee members, and I'm going to leave these up on the screen here in a minute so you can look at them. And I'll also put their emails in the chat so that you can easily copy and paste their emails and send them a message. And then these are the legislative forums this weekend. So if you're in the area of Red Oak, Eldridge, Muscatine, Sumner, Emmitsburg, Ida Grove, Storm Lake, Des Moines, Okoboji, Wapello, or Nashua, please attend these forums in your area and ask them about community solar. So Patrick, now maybe you could help fill in the details. What should we say in these emails, and why is this really important? And maybe you can expand a little bit on what I said, and also thank you so much for being here today, Patrick.
Oh, sure thing. I've spent several years up to right now working in states that have community solar programs in place. And when they're properly set up and administered, they really are a benefit to particularly rural landowners and farmers who could use some additional income from their property. Jess has put together an excellent presentation on this. And if you wanted to know what to say to your legislators, you could just grab points from slides number 2 and 3 in particular. And it really summarizes nicely what's in the bill and what the benefits are. A couple of things about community solar I would emphasize is they're modest in size. You're going to see a maximum of about 25 acres of property, give or take a few, for any particular community solar project, because the law limits this, how big one of these can be. 5 megawatts for those of you who follow those kinds of numbers. So they're not all that big. Now, here in Iowa and in the upper Midwest, one objection you might hear from legislators or neighbors or farmers or whatever is, I don't want to take my productive agricultural farmland out of production. If you decide to do, let's just say 25 acres of community solar on your property, you don't have to take it out of production. Once the array is built, you can plant it to perennial grasses and forbs, prairie plants, or you can grow out farm to market vegetables. And you can graze sheep in particular underneath solar panels. As a matter of fact, that's becoming an increasingly popular option all over the United States for, vegetation and weed control. And there you have, an extra benefit for a landowner who wants to do that. Now, the way the laws typically are written, for a landowner who says, look, put a fence around it, I don't want to mess with it, just send me my semi-annual or annual checks, and you guys take care of the property underneath the panels. Developers will do that. That's sort of a standard setup. You should know that anybody who is a fit for this will have land that's close to power lines that can take that power, up figure 1 to 5 megawatts of electric power off of a project like this and put it into the local grid. There are 2 major utilities in Iowa, Alliant and Mid-American Energy, and they will be required to participate in these programs and work with developers and landowners who want to do this on their property. And this is usually the way this has to get done. The utilities on their own really aren't interested. I don't want to bash anybody, but they are registered as being against these bills. They would prefer to control power generation themselves. And that is exactly what the benefit is of this. Another thing to say to legislators, in addition to the excellent points that are in Jess's presentation, is when you have distributed energy like this, think national and regional security. If a major power plant like the one in Ottumwa that I'm near goes down for some reason, leaves a lot of people in the dark. If you have lots of smaller generation plants, these community solar generation facilities all over the place, you've done yourself a real good turn in terms of energy security. For the argument that, well, it only works when the sun shines, battery storage for electricity in these programs is pretty much becoming the industry default now. It's optional, but usually you set aside an extra acre or two and you've got enough battery storage to provide the same power for backup for a couple of hours or whatever is needed. So it's good to remember that this is a nice energy security program. Now, one of the benefits of this or a good community solar program is the people who subscribe, if they are having trouble paying electric power bills and they meet certain low income thresholds, can get the power coming off of one of these at a discount when they subscribe to it. So what that means is you would be looking at a 10 to 20% reduction on your bill if you are a subscriber to a community solar project. This is one of the reasons why it is called community solar, because it's a benefit to community members who could use help with paying their electric power bills. Also, typically, these programs are structured so that somebody who builds it out comes in with the needed expertise, but they will hire local labor for the construction and local help for the ongoing maintenance, mowing or whatever, if that's as it's needed. And again, these are things that keep money, in a community. The landowners, I'm going to use general numbers here. If you're making $350 an acre net growing out corn and soybeans, you'll probably be offered, let's say, 3 times that much, maybe more per acre for the acres that go into one of these community solar projects. So for farmers who are having a tough time of it with corn and soy rotations and the amount of money that they can get from that, this adds additional income for the farm. And it's very steady and reliable. Ask any utility. This is one of the reasons why they're considered top-notch blue chip investments is that, all of us use and need electricity. It's a very stable investment or program or project for a landowner. So these programs have been tested, field tested, adjusted in a number of states quite successfully. At this point, the way these two bills are written, this looks like a community solar program that is built to last. Now, one thing that I have heard from my local legislators when I was pursuing this with them is it's in the Iowa House. These bills are now labeled the Local Generation Act. Those words seem to be a lot more comfortable for people than community solar. So fine, use the Local Generation Act as the title for the bill, because it's just as true. And if it makes people feel better about, what's on offer here, particularly your legislators, fine. People who tried to get this done last year have learned some lessons. And if they're coming back and saying the Local Generation Act is the right way to describe it, use that term. Can't think of much more other than Jess has provided good guidance on taking action, and the legislators that you see there are the people that you want to reach out to. Yeah, just you can send them an email, identify yourself as if they're a constituent, fine. That's important to say. But you can send an email to everyone in a committee and just say, if you have any interest in this, for example, if you are a farmer landowner who thinks they might have the necessary power lines nearby, let them know that you could use this help as a landowner who could use the additional income, and you are in favor of this. If you're just a person who is interested in renewable energy, or you think you might be able to subscribe at some point if you're in a Lion or Mid-American service area, let them know that. You'd like to be able to participate in solar energy. And if you are someone who could qualify for some help with your bills, let them know that as well. It's a nice program. Those are just about all the points I can think of to touch upon. Yeah, keep in mind this objection you hear a lot. I did in other states where there was, that farming was a major occupation. In rural areas, you don't have to take land out of production to do this. You'll have different kinds of production, but you can graze livestock, you can raise forage, you can just put it in flowers for harvesting honey and put beehives inside or outside the footprint of the project. There's stuff you can do. And if you are interested in grazing livestock, sheep are the best. Those are all things you can do underneath the solar array. So let them know. You know, we respect land, we respect fertile land here in Iowa, and anybody who wants to keep it in production, ag production, can do so.
Thank you so much, Patrick. This was incredibly helpful, especially some of those specific examples kind of make it all, come together a little bit more. Thank you very much. And for those of you who are watching now, I did put in the chat all the email addresses for the members of the Senate Commerce Committee and the House Commerce Committee. And if you're watching it later, those will still be there. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat and we'll respond there on Facebook. But again, please reach out to your legislators. By email. You can attend these legislative forums, which I have on the screen one more time, or you can come to the Capitol with us next Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. We'll meet in room 305. So again, thank you, Patrick, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be back next Friday at noon. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Jess. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.